This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you by the Daily Herald.
I'm here with Marie Valente, head coach in Neuqua Valley Badminton. Thanks for joining me today, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the team off to a phenomenal start this season. Coming off of last year's state championship, what have been some thoughts going into the early season practices, early season matches, just trying to pick up where you left off last year?
You know, it's an exciting thing, and you have to celebrate a championship like that. You definitely do. You reflect from the year before. We had a young team last year, and the main thing is that they gain experience. And coming off that year, going into this new year, a couple things are running through my head, and I want to make sure that every practice counts. I want to make sure that they're being challenged at practices. The entire season is really not that long. There's maybe 20 some practices before the actual state championship. And I want to make sure that, yes, they're getting better, but they're also having fun and they're not getting hurt, watching what they're doing and not pushing them too hard, and having that balance.
And we spoke last year, and that's one thing that you've mentioned is just kind of creating that fun, that loose atmosphere. But I had a chance to speak with Sophia and Eva about this as well. And when they take the court, it is just like something just clicks on, and it's like, all right, it's go time. And just what can you say about the culture that you've created? That it is such a fun, loose atmosphere, but on the court, it is just, it is unreal. Just kind of, it's almost night and day just watching the girls before and after a game compared to when they're on the court.
Although I want them to have fun, because here's the thing: in the off season, there's no doubt. They work really hard in the off season. 2-3 times a week, sometimes a lot more than that, sometimes 4, 5, 6, depending if it's the summertime or if it's during the school year. And they play a lot of badminton, so it's not a secret why they might have some success, because they just work really hard. And I know that coming to the season, they are looking for camaraderie. They're looking for the fun bus rides. They need a little bit more fun. It can't be all business. Yeah. But at the same time, they know that when it's time to focus, they need to focus. There's times I definitely have to reel them in. They're having too much fun. And they've told me, that we do appreciate you, bringing us back in, focusing. Because, and I think, any athlete would speak to this. It's at this level, at high school level, especially in badminton, you really never know. Anything could happen. It is a mental game. You might have somebody that has played in practice so much versus someone who may not have played in practice as much, but they could still win over someone who has had more experience. So the culture I try to create is, we definitely need some laughs. We definitely have to have fun, but in drills, you have to focus. I try to encourage them to always have a meaningful practice. Even if it's something as easy as serving, there should always be a point to your shot. Not just serving to just get it in. You should aim. And I know it seems like a simple concept, but you can forget, because you're going through the drills and you're repeating. It's so repetitive, and especially when you're practicing something, a skill that you might be good at. Again, it gets repetitive, and you have to kind of stop and think, all right, how can I make this drill better for me? How can I challenge myself? And I want to remind them to do that, because it's easy to forget. You shouldn't be just smashing. You should be, okay, well, where you're smashing, and the partner that you're playing with during practice, I want them to think about, well, are they better at receiving backhand, forehand, or at their body? And this
kind of play against the weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. And those things they think about versus, when they're in practice, I want them to practice that practice so that they do it naturally in a game versus their opponent. And those things, again, they kind of forget. When you're good at something, a particular skill, maybe you're great at serving, you could get into a drill where you're just serving, and it's like, well, do you have a purpose for this serve? And like I said, that's something really simple. Maybe we're doing clears, maybe we're doing drops, maybe we're doing pattern drills. But I try to remind them as much as possible, and I think of how can you get better at these drills. And I think that when they walk onto the court, they know that, people want to beat us. No one's going to just give up a win. It doesn't matter if they know us or not. They're not just going to give it to us, and the girls, they understand that. and they try to refocus, and I think they do a great job of doing that.
Got to take a moment to talk about Lauren Ho. Last year, freshman season, she comes in, wins the first individual medal for Neuqua Badminton, took 4th place at state. Got a chance to watch the match against Central, and Syria Nair, very talented one singles player for them, 6th place at state last year. And just watching Lauren, I got to see her play a little bit last year, but she just seemed on a whole nother level this year coming into her sophomore year after just that phenomenal freshman campaign. Just what can you say about the work that Lauren puts in and just really setting the bar for this whole program, it seems like, as an underclassman as well?
Sure. She, I was talking about before, Lauren, she had an older sister on the team, and so she was exposed to badminton at a really young age. So she had an awesome opportunity to play, and she takes it seriously. She wants to do well, and she appreciates when she's being challenged. I'd say that last year as a freshman, there's no doubt she was a very, very good player last year, obviously, being 4th in state, but she most certainly gained a lot of perspective. Yeah. And what's nice is that, these girls all see each other training in the off season. It's just a totally different ballgame when you get to the season and then state competition. It's like the competition. It doesn't matter what kind of, they have their off-season invites and opens and things like that, which they go to and they see each other there, but it's just totally different. And I would say the big thing is that she gained a lot of perspective last year. She kind of got her feet wet. She realized, okay, this is what I need to do. She definitely is, open to coaching. She's very coachable, and she started. I think every coach kind of has their lingo, as far as, strategy, work ethic, things like that. And I think, after a year under her belt, she kind of understands the bigger picture of things a little bit better. And she took her training. It's not just about training more, but she just took it to a new level, I feel like, because I think she trained smarter. And again, at this point, she still likes the game. She still loves the game. And that's a really big, important part. She's not, burnt out or anything. She, physically she's there, mentally she's there. She's always looking to get better. She's humble in that way and modest in that way. She's open for constructive criticism in her game. So I think that helped her in the off season and then leading into this season. And
looking at the rest of the girls that made the trip to state, Arthi Kankari getting some valuable experience as a sophomore, Joyce Chen last year as a freshman playing in the doubles pairing. Having that many, Catherine Chung was really the only state participant not returning this year that graduated. What does that mean for the other players on the roster, knowing that many state participants coming back? Does that fuel some of the lower seeded girls perhaps, making them hey, they were able to do that, as a freshman, sophomore, so many young underclassmen making the trip, that just kind of pushes everybody and kind of, does it create kind of more of a competitive edge from top to bottom with girls wanting to match what some other girls have done as well?
I would say it's definitely a motivator for sure. The underclassmen, whether it's freshmen or JV, or the underclassmen on my varsity team, they want to be that. And it's always difficult. I think almost any coach can say this is, you have to do off-season stuff, and you can't just practice. You have to practice well. It's got to be quality practice. You say, well, it's not a secret why, these freshmen are my top players. These freshmen, underclassmen were my top players last year, still are this year. It's their hard work, and they're starting to kind of get that, and they want to be that good, and they feel like that's fun. I want to play, and I want to do well. So I do feel like it's a motivator, and at the same time, they're excited for each other. I feel like that they're really, the team is deep, and they're excited about it. They want to do well. They want to be a good practice player, and so that means individually they have to keep up on their skills and improve their skills.
And it sounds a lot of what goes into the success at the high school level seems to be those off-season programs and the club teams that the girls are playing on. How much are you involved with the work they put in the summer, perhaps some of the other club teams in the area? Because it sounds like a lot of the girls in the area are playing on same club teams or kind of running into each other throughout the summer and the off season. How much are you involved in that process and kind of keeping in touch with the team, not during the regular season?
Sure, in the off season, sure. When people congratulate me, good job, coach, I will respond that I have nothing to do with it. I certainly try to keep them focused during the season, and I do my best. I've had badminton experience. I played when I was in high school, but for these girls, I really can't take credit because I'm not there in the off season. I make it a point to try to make it to tournaments that they're in, just to see them, see how they're doing, things like that. Just how are they doing? But really, I can't take credit for what they do in the off season. Thankfully that they have found good coaches at these clubs, nearby clubs, and it's been a positive experience for them. But again, I'm in the off season. We offer an open gym experience as far as conditioning and open conditioning, and that's a combination of sports. Like softball, soccer, and badminton are there. But they're working hard in the off season, definitely without me. It really is. I hold a camp in the summertime for maybe a week, and really they come to help out at the camp. I'm not really coaching them at the camp. So what they do in the off season, I am pretty separate from that. And it's just kind of the way it is. They jump into the clubs, and it works well for them. So yeah.
And Coach, got to jump back to just the experience of being at state last year, and after the first day with everybody moving on to Saturday. Just speaking with you a couple times, it sounds like Saturday was kind of a tough moment for you when it was coming down the stretch. What's going through your mind there? It's not wanting to hear the scores, and just what was that experience like? And I guess looking ahead while those matches are going on Saturday, and then afterwards when it kind of really sunk in that wow, we just won state.
Right. I would say on that Saturday, I didn't really talk about it, and I purposely asked my coaches, and I purposely talked to the girls, and I told them, I said, we're fine, just do your best. And they want to talk about it, and they want to build up and worry about it. And really what I'm thinking is I need everybody to stay calm. So I'm trying to distract them with other things, having conversations about other things. And what was going through my head is that, they're going to do the best they can. This team, last year's team, and this year's team, they're a special team. They definitely are. Not only do they work hard in the off season, but they really care, and that just makes a huge difference. And like I said, I think any coach could say that. When you have someone who has skills and they want to be there, it makes a huge difference. And during that time, Saturday, when I heard the score a couple times, you're tied. People, they can't help but come up to you and talk to you, and it's kind of like, oh, are we? And it's kind of like, I don't want to think about that pressure. I just want to focus on the game, and make sure that, I'm watching and picking up tips that when I do have an opportunity to coach in between games or at the 11 point, that I can get to the point. I can be concise and succinct with my coaching and give them some clear directions. And that's what I knew, is that I have to keep my head clear, and be really, just be clear with them. So they have 1-2 things to think about, and that's it, just keep them focused. That's the biggest thing.
With so many pieces coming back from that team last year, what would you say there's going to be one specific thing that the team's going to need to do this season in order to make a similar run to last year? Because obviously last year's team, speaking with some of the players and yourself as well, kind of flew under the radar heading into the state tournament. But obviously this year, defending state champs, nobody's going to go into that match not thinking okay, this is the team to beat. So what would you say is going to be kind of the key this year to try and duplicate that run?
I would say with the few practices that we have left, the key is not getting complacent in practice. And I think that sometimes when you come out of, let's say you come out of a match or a tournament and you win, you're kind of on a high, right? What's key for them is coming out of these games, still reflecting, because there's still things that you have to work on. Still looking for your weaknesses and your strengths, and then picking those things and focusing on those things when you have a practice. So the key is not getting complacent, still finding a way, whether that's the girls or myself, finding things that they need to work on and focusing on those things, how they can be better in each practice. And I would say that each drill. You know, you have drills that go between 5 and 15 minutes, 5 and 20 minutes, depending on what it is. And again, it's not losing focus, it's picking one thing and making sure that you're trying to improve those things when you're at practice. So I would say that would be it.
Well, Coach, hopefully those practices continue to go well and you guys make another run like last year, and we'll enjoy covering you, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Thank you.